All right. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Onyx Report. Took a little hiatus for a week or so. So I hope everybody is well. I myself am getting back into the groove. Spring break is over. I'm back in the classroom. So just trying to keep things moving. But as you guys know, the Onyx Report is, what is this? I'm getting some weird noise. There we go. All right. I don't know what that was. All right. Anyway, Onyx Report is where we as Black male justice advocates uplift Black men and boys using critical analysis. So I hope everybody's good. Let me see. I got Gemini in here. Malika, what's going on? Rashid, Barry, what's happening? Eric, Ron. See my thoughts. Eric is back in here again. So I hope everybody is well. Let me see here. So I think we are good. I was trying to also go on Instagram, but it looks like I'm having a little trouble with that, which has been the case the last time I tried as well. So I'm not real sure what the deal is with that, but that's all right. I'll figure it out another time. Anyway, just got back myself. Had to take a little drive this last weekend. I am in Fresno. So Fresno, we are a good at least 3 hours away from everything everyone talks about in California. So whether you're talking about, going to San Francisco, LA, hitting the beach, whatever it is, Fresno is inland. we are desert temperatures up in here. So, every now and again I got to get out and I got to drive. So this past weekend, I had to hit up, actually it was a Monday. I had to hit up the beach. And so just to share with you guys a little brief clip of what I get to take in, this is what I go meditate to. I'll go sit out there for a couple hours and meditate right around sunset. I'm good to go. So I got a chance to take that in the other day. Thought I'd share a little piece of that with you. Whatever. And really, the reason I bring that up is because I want and I hope that brothers have a release, whatever that is for you. I don't care if it's weights. I don't care if it's, putting the ball in the hoop. I don't care what it is. I hope you know what your release is and you give yourself a chance to do it as often as you need to. You know what I mean? Sometimes I just need to breathe, man. I just need to go out and just meditate and I will travel to other countries to go take in nature and just meditate. So, at the end of the day, whatever that is for you, I hope you do it. And I hope you are doing it, especially in this last year. Things have been crazy and we all need to get a chance to release. So, but I say that to brothers more particularly because our stress levels tend to be ridiculous. We tend to carry the weight of the world on us in a very distinct way. And we grapple with issues that others don't. And that is empirically framed. Like we can prove that. So that said, get it in, whatever that is for you. Now, Eric, as far as Wood Beach, that time I went to Aptos. I've never been there before. I will literally just pull up articles on a bunch of beaches in Cali and I'll just go to one. I don't care which one it is. You know what I mean? Put the top down, get on the freeway and just let it roll. So, and our Artisan, I don't know if I was near you, man. If I was, man, I apologize for missing you. I didn't know where Aptos was. I didn't know where exactly you were. I just jumped in the car, man. I didn't really have a plan beyond that. I just drive 3 hours, meditate for a couple, get back in the car and come back, so that's what it was. But yeah, so I just wanted to encourage you a little bit, remind you to go back to that space, whatever that is for you, and enjoy it. Life's too short for it to all be about work and stress. And for us, it can tend to be that a little too much, But anyway, so today I wanted to start out, as y'all know, we celebrate Black men over here. So that said, I wanted to get a chance to look at some of these issues that pertain to us. But, before we do, just wanted to remind brothers that, remind those listening in general, whoever you might be, to support the Onyx Report. You can do so by making a contribution. You could either do that through YouTube using the super chat, or you can do that through Cash App or PayPal. The information's right there on the page. You can also become a member, right? And that is basically just to click the join button. That's right next to the subscribe button. I hope you've done both. And you can choose your level of membership, right? And so go ahead and do that and support the show. We appreciate it over here. So definitely one way to approach what we are doing. All right. So let's get it in and see what we can. All right. Let's see. All right. So you know what I do here. I do the Sacred Black Masculine series. It's one of the things we do on the show. And it's basically one way that we celebrate Black men. We celebrate Black men's achievements, accomplishments. We celebrate their victories. We celebrate their sacrifices, especially considering for how many people those sacrifices tend to go unseen, unacknowledged, and dismissed in many ways. So over here, we acknowledge them, right? So first one up on the docket, as they say, is this brother here. This is from a repost from 56 Black Men. It's a story of a 26-year-old student. That is not him in the picture, from what I understand. 26-year-old student who sends a message to his teacher to explain that he'll be absent from the course because he's not found anyone to keep his 5-month-old daughter. Mr. Alexander, 34, a math professor at Morehouse College, responds to his student by saying, if that's a problem, take her to class or bring her to class. Upon arriving in the classroom, the teacher offered to take the child so that his student could devote himself entirely to the course. Teacher held the child throughout the lesson and even after, when he answered the student's questions. The photo posted on social media network. Internet users congratulated the teacher, who not only teaches math, but also compassion, kindness, and generosity toward others, right? So this moved me because this is something I would do if in the situation, provided, the child was willing to be quiet long enough to let that happen. But I have had a loud child, even in my own house, and I've learned some ways to kind of calm that down, one of the perks of being a father. But I wanted to shout this brother out, Professor Nathan Alexander, because this is a beautiful example of what Black men do every day, right? And so I have tonight we're broadcasting on Interlight Radio, as well as Facebook, as well as YouTube and Twitch. So for my Interlight listeners, this is a photo of a professor who's got the child strap and the baby on him while he's teaching a math lesson. And this is what's up. You know what I mean? This is definitely one of those things that, again, Black men have been doing, and generally people seem kind of oblivious to, but it is nonetheless there. Let's see. What's up, Mr. Heat? What's up, Daima? Hope everybody's well. All right. So shout out to that brother. Shout out to Morehouse. Good to see Black men doing their thing and supporting that by honoring brothers who are. Right. So we got 84 in here. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe as I suggested. Let's get the word out because we are back on the grind. Okay. Next up, this brother here. You can find this particular article on CNN.com, but it's been featured in a number of places. This is a piece about an Instacart shopper believed he heard someone loading guns in a bathroom stall. Police arrested a man with 6 guns. So this is the Instacart shopper who heard the guns being loaded and called it in before anyone got hurt, right? Instacart shopper who entered an Atlanta supermarket bathroom this week told police he saw an AR-15 style rifle and heard what he believed was the sound of someone loading guns in a bathroom stall. The witness rushed out of the bathroom and notified staff at the public supermarket. When police soon after arrived, they arrested a suspect as he was exiting the bathroom with 6 loaded guns in his possession. The suspect, identified as 22-year-old Rico Marley, now faces a slew of charges related to the incident, which came just days after 10 people were killed in a mass shooting at a supermarket in Boulder, Colorado. It was that tragedy that was fresh in the mind of the Instacart shopper, Charles Russell, who's pictured here. He said, I saw an AR-15 and I was like, this kind of startled me, just again with events that recently happened in the grocery store in Colorado. Authorities have not yet said what they believe Marley intended to do with the weapons. According to the police incident report, Russell was entering the men's bathroom when he heard clicking sounds from the stall. Sounded to him like someone was loading firearms. He also told me that he saw an AR-15, according to one of the officers. By the time the officer arrived, a commercial and residential complex in Atlanta just north of downtown supermarket appeared to have been evacuated. That's what's up. The officer wrote that he donned a ballistic helmet and took his city-issued rifle into the store, where he immediately saw the suspect coming around the corner from the restroom just feet away. The officer ordered the suspect to put his hands up and not move. The accused appeared to be surprised when he saw us that close to him. Marley was detained without incident. Right. So shout out to him. Much appreciation, for him to doing that. I don't know how many lives he saved that day, but this would have been a very different story had he not acted on what he heard. It says after arresting Marley, police recovered 6 firearms, a DPMS AR-15 style rifle, a 12-gauge Maverick Arms Model 88 shotgun, 3 semi-automatic 9mm pistols, and a 38 caliber revolver. All the weapons were loaded, and the rifle, shotgun, and 3 9mm pistols all had a round in the chamber, according to the police report. Shit. The suspect, who was wearing body armor when he was arrested, had the 4 handguns in his clothing, while the rifle and shotgun were being carried inside a bag. Marley has been charged with 6 counts of possession of firearm or knife during commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies, and 5 counts of criminal attempt to commit a felony. Marley, who's been represented by a Fulton County public defender, waived his first court appearance Thursday, where Judge Rashida Oliver ordered him to be held without bond due to his danger risk to the community at large. He's being held in the Fulton County Jail. Wow. That very well could have been a very different thing, right? So shout out to this brother Charles Russell for stepping up. Appreciate that support, Dr. Thunders. Good to see you in here. Hope all is well. Y'all make sure you look for Dr. Thunder on YouTube. Support his channel. It's a good brother right there. Scholar and a musician, from what I understand. So yeah, appreciate that, brother. All right. So shout out again to Charles Russell. Beautiful work. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. This one comes thanks to our very own Officer Charles Faulkner, who recently just celebrated a birthday. Happy belated to you, sir. He's been kind of doing the rounds, kind of shouting these brothers out, and I wanted to help him do so. These are 5 young brothers who recently just won, they just became wrestling champions, all of them at the same time. The names are Aaron Brooks, Gable Stevenson, David Carr, Roman Bravo Young, and Cater Starochi. And Gable Stevenson was just won the Olympic trials to make the Olympic wrestling team last weekend as well. So these brothers all became wrestling champions just a few weeks ago. And I wanted to acknowledge that all 5 of them at the same time dominating the sport. So shout out to these young brothers. Congratulations to all of you. Hope to see more of you, more success to you. I couldn't, the interesting thing about it. Now, I didn't get a chance to check today, but when I looked at it earlier, I was trying to find an article that acknowledged all 5 of them, and I couldn't find one. Now, again, that may have changed, but I didn't have a chance I didn't see one prior to that. So again, we got to celebrate our own whenever we need to, regardless of who does or who doesn't. You know what I mean? Straight up. So shout out to these brothers. Beautiful work. Keep pushing. Wrestling was definitely one of those sports that I did in middle school, and it will put some hair on your chest. I mean, ain't no joke. Some of these guys, depending on the team, depending on the school, man, they made the football team look like, man, the work these wrestlers were putting in. Oh God, man, it was raw. I don't think I ever played a sport where we trained as hard as wrestling, but that's just me. So anyway, shout out to those brothers. Now this one is both uplifting and sad at the same time. This one here you can find in abc7ny.com, entitled North Carolina 18-year-old sacrifices his life using his own body to shield 10-year-old from hail of bullets. Damn. Dodgewater Park, New Jersey, an 18-year-old from North Carolina died when he used his own body to shield a 10-year-old from gunfire. Altariq Bell and his family are from Skinnersville, North Carolina, a small town on the shores of Albemarle Sound in Washington County. Bell was less than a month away from his 19th birthday. He was close to graduating high school. He had dreams of becoming a model. Now he will not achieve any of those milestones, but because of his selflessness, another young man has the opportunity to chase his own dreams. Thank God my son was there to protect the little boy in the back seat, Bell's mother, Izetta Howell, said. Bell was in New Jersey with his girlfriend visiting her family. On Saturday, March 27th, Bell was in the back seat of a car with his girlfriend's 10-year-old nephew. That's when another driver opened fire. Bell acted quickly, draping his own body over the 10-year-old as bullets ripped through the car. Multiple bullets struck and ultimately killed Bell. 25-year-old who was in the front seat of the car was also killed in the shooting, but the 10-year-old walked away unharmed. For him to save his life, that meant the world to me, even though my son is gone. But just to know that my son had a heart of gold, it makes it even better to deal with, said Howell. The 10-year-old's mother had nothing but praise and admiration for Bell's courageous actions. So far, police have not announced any arrests made in this case. Again, inspiring and sad at the same time, but this brother sacrificed his life to save a child. Damn. Right? So, all I can say is I wish his spirit well, good work, soldier. We sacrifice for the kids. We talk about doing so, but how many of us are ready and willing to do it is a whole nother thing. But he acted in the moment, and I celebrate his sacrifice, especially in the name of making sure our kids can continue on. To be this young, though, but anyway, congratulations to those of you who are able to take this lesson from Altariq Bell and apply it in some way in your life to make sure that you can be a resource to a child in some way, shape, or form, however that may need to be. If you can take inspiration from this, I salute you, and I salute this young man. Right? Straight hero. Right? Straight hero. And we don't hear enough about these brothers that do this. And again, this is daily for Black men. I'm not suggesting these things are new. I'm just shouting out what happens on a regular basis. It's the degree to which we don't acknowledge them, even if they are in the media, which I would argue is probably limited, but they need to be acknowledged straight out, right? This next one is in similar fashion. Forgive the graininess of the image. This is actually an image taken from a low-quality video, but this is an interview that took place with one Brittany Myers and one Solomon Odubajo. I may have mispronounced that. I'm going to play a little bit of the clip this came from so you guys can see a little bit about what this pertains to. We have a couple that own a food truck, and they were using...
On February 5th, we were supposed to meet with Tom Toot. My husband couldn't make the meeting because he was getting our food truck serviced. Once I got to the meeting, it just felt like it was something different that we were actually there for. He brought an All Lives Matter shirt to me, and he was yelling at me with it, calling me racist, just making me feel very uncomfortable. I decided to just contact my husband, and, I told him, like, hey, he's making me feel uncomfortable. How far are you? Can you come? And so my husband, he literally stopped everything that he was doing, and he raced there because, I was feeling, something wasn't right.
So I ended up speaking there in like 5 minutes. You could tell he acting weird because even when I'm talking to him, having a conversation, he's not looking at me, he's not paying attention. And then he just like lost it.
And that's when he pulled out the gun.
Yeah, that's when he pulled the weapon.
It was hard at that moment. I'm sorry. I was just like, if I call the police, this may be it for him. This may be it. I was scared. My husband had to tell me, call the police. I didn't feel like, it's sad because I didn't feel like that was the first people that can help, And, once they arrived, I stopped them at the door. I would not let anybody. I stood in the doorway and I begged them, every last one of those officers who had their guns. I said, please do not kill my husband.
So, Let's see, shout out to Officer Faulkner in the building. As far as the wrestling champions I mentioned, he gave a little more detail. He said they're all NCAA wrestling champions. So again, shout out to them. So the video we just watched, especially for those of you on online radio who are just listening in, if you missed any element of it, is you got a husband and wife, owners of a food truck, who were storing some materials at a location owned by a gentleman named Toot. It was a white male, Caucasian male. And when the wife went to go meet with him, he was talking a little strange. He was acting a little strange. He gave her an all lives matter shirt. She called her husband. He immediately dropped what he was doing, came in and saw the man about to pull a gun. Caught it on video. He held the man for 11 minutes, gun in hand, until the police showed up. And what I appreciate about his wife was that she knew, you know what I mean? She acknowledged the danger her husband could be grappling with when the police showed up. And she made it a point to not only point that out. There's a point in the interview where she talks about, where she stopped the police at the door and made sure to let them know what was going on and what was happening, doing everything she could to make sure her husband didn't lose his life, all to end with this Caucasian cat getting out because the police said there was no proof that he was going to kill anybody. So, that is what it is. But again, I wanted to shout the brother out, for doing what he did. Again, another act of heroism, something that Black men are often accused of not demonstrating. And in actuality, these are daily occurrences for Black men, sacrificing for either family or, as we saw with the young man a moment ago, strangers for all intents and purposes. So again, shout out to him. Oh man, that was rough. So we're going to go ahead and get into it if we can. Let me get this going here. So what are we talking about tonight? This is one that's been on my mind for the last few weeks. How can Black men determine if they're being represented well in media? And I've been watching a number of things as I started doing my daily Black Masculinist news show. I've been taking in a lot more media than usual, from television and film and so on and so forth. And I ran across an article about a young Black woman who was fired. If I remember correctly, she was fired from the latest Osama, appreciate that support. I don't even know how to pronounce that, brother, but I appreciate the support. Anyway, no, he had a Jelmo. I don't know if you're talking about the last video we had up, but no, he had a gun. The husband that caught his wrist and held it there, but he had a gun in hand. So he definitely had a weapon. The police just said they couldn't prove he was going to kill them with it, so they let him go. Anyway, but anyway, so I was noticing this African-American woman was fired from the recent Superman show, the one that's currently on television, Superman and Lois. She was supposed to be one of the writers on the show, and some of the things, the ideas she had weren't really flowing. And you can find an article about it. I didn't post one because I wasn't planning to go into it. This is really not about her, but in it, she did mention something that I hadn't thought about in a while, and it was referring to the Bechdel test, or the Bechdel-Wallace test. And this is a test that many feminists use as a measure of the representation of women in fiction, right? And so they basically ask a series of questions. Whether a work features at least two women who talk to each other about something other than men. The requirement is that the two women must be named. There's also sometimes added, according to user-edited databases and media industry press, about half of all films meet these criteria. Passing or failing the test is not necessarily indicative of how well women are represented in any specific work. Rather, the test is used as an indicator for the active presence of women in the entire field or film and other fiction, so on and so forth. And I'm not going to go into depth on that. You can look that up, the Bechdel test, Bechdel. but it's used, and this is something I remember reading about in graduate school, right? Appreciate that, no one. So the test is named after an American cartoonist, Alison Bechdel, in whose 1985 comic strip, Dykes to Watch Out For, the test first appeared. Bechdel credited the idea to her friend Liz Wallace and the writings of Virginia Woolf. After the test became more widely discussed in the 2000s, a number of variants and tests inspired by it emerged. And I thought about that, and I was like, I wonder how much we've seen that really examines Black men and how we're represented. Is there anything out there? And I haven't run across too much, and I'm sure there is. This is such a wide, big planet. I'm sure somebody's done such work, but I can't say I've run across it. So inspired by, this, I decided to create my own. And so this is what we're going to refer to as the Onyx Media Test. So you guys know I'm a huge geek. If that isn't evident to you, you have to be on the online radio show. But anyone who's looking at the video can tell I keep an array of items on my wall all around me. And trust me when I tell you there's many more. My camera just can't capture them. I got all kinds of collections. And if anything, I've been collecting comic books now for about 41 years. So you can bet my garage is packed to capacity with decades of comic books that I've had since, a young age. So, I'm definitely a geek. Appreciate that support, Rashid. I'm definitely a comic head. I love comics. I love all things comics, films. I'm a fiction head. My son knows that if he wants to stay up later than his bedtime, all he has to do is ask me if he can watch a fiction. And aside from having to deal with an informative lecture that gives context to the film we're watching, we're probably going to watch it. So, he got me a couple weeks ago, right before bedtime. He's like, well, can we watch Alien? I was like, yeah, we appreciate that support, Corey. And I was like, yeah, we can watch Alien, So, we delved in and kind of went ahead and did that. Yeah, I'm a pushover for that kind of thing. So, and we got one of those planned tonight. So it is what it is in my house. But, again, had I thought about there being any kind of formal breakdown, can't say I have. I haven't seen anything that really broke down some ideas. So I'm not suggesting that what I'm proposing here is definitive, but as usual, I'd like to at least start a conversation where we can contribute. All right. Appreciate that, Carter. So I thought, this is, and I might open the line up, have some of you guys chime in, because I came up with about 7 different points that you guys can kind of chime in on, give me your thoughts about in regard to what we see in media and what we would like to see, right? What we would like to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going through them one at a time. And if you would pop in on a specific point that I raised and give your thoughts. Shout out to the lead attorney. Good to see you in here. Excellent video you did a while back with O'Shea covering Derek Jackson. It was informative. If anybody has not checked out that video, the lead attorney, definitely support his channel. Definitely check out the video he did with O'Shea on Derek Jackson and divorce. It definitely applies to more than just celebrities. Trust me, one listen to that interview, you will be taking notes and you will rethink, if you haven't already, how you navigate dating, marriage, so on and so forth in this reality. So shout out to the lead attorney. Hope you're well. What's up, Ian? I see BGS in the chat. Shout out to BGS. Y'all make sure you check out his Black Pill channel. So it's one of the channels he's had for a while, but he's putting some content on there recently. So y'all make sure you go check it out. And yes, in full agreement, Malika, Black Geeks Unite, for real. All right. So here's the first one. And, again, I'd like to hear your thoughts. You can also come in and talk about examples of your, to your mind. What's up, West Coast? Good to see you in here. Gemini. All right. So the Onyx Media test questions whether a media production has at least 2 Black males in it. Who? Number 1, can be shown as everyday Black men. They are not disembodied as aliens, pet animals, etc. One of the most recent examples of that is Disney's Soul with Jamie Foxx, which I enjoy. Don't get me wrong. I can be a bit schizophrenic, and you kind of have to be. You got to kind of have a Du Boisian, kind of double consciousness to live in this reality. So I can go and watch a movie, and at the same time, find things in it that I find discomforting, I find problematic, and yet on an entertainment level, thoroughly enjoy it. So I can watch a movie, have fun, come to class the next day and tear it apart. It is what it is, because it doesn't suggest that because it was entertaining that it wasn't problematic in some way, shape, or form. It's not. It is just to say that we have to be able to call these things out and identify the problems with it, right? So Black men being presented as human beings has been a consistent problem beyond just media. I mean, even in terms of how we're treated in the law, we deal with the history of our treatment, how we're viewed in general. This has been an ongoing issue for several centuries now. But post-slavery, one of the things we saw was the use of stereotypes to rally public opinion, and if anything, to make sure that such things as voting, for example, operated in a way that was anti-Black in many instances. So stereotypes was a consistent way of doing that. And something as subtle as showing a Black man in this movie who's portrayed in two forms other than his own has a kind of impact that it doesn't necessarily for others when you control for the history of Black male representation. So in this, you're seeing two forms out of three that Jamie Foxx's character in Disney's Soul took. Took one as a disembodied spirit on the left, and then as a cat for a good portion of the movie on the right. And I think something similar. I didn't watch I think it's Will Smith's, one of his recent animated pictures. I think he was a pigeon or something. I didn't watch that one, but it was another one I heard about. But these kinds of representations in many ways, it kind of reinforces a very subtle idea about Black male inhumanity. And I know that sounds whatever, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I mean, Black men not being shown as human beings is a bit of a problem. So I'm going to drop the link. And if you have a quick comment or something to that regard that you'd like to put in, please make sure you do. Let me see. I'm also going to get some of this in here. All right. So I dropped the link. And like I said, if you just have a quick comment about this point, you can pop in. If you want to wait till a later one, you can. I got 6 more. But, exactly, Tyrone. The media can be extremely brutal when it comes to the representation of Black men, which is one of the reasons, that I wanted to shout out that I do the Sacred Black Masculine series, right? Because these are things that many of us may not even be aware of, right? So let's see. Number 2. And you can tell me if you have some other examples of any of these as well. I just use 1 or 2 examples at a time, right? So number 2, the Onyx, let me see. Characters who don't spend the majority of the story overly catering to white or female characters, especially without an explicable reason. So, one of the classic examples that people refer to goes back to the 80s series Lethal Weapon, right? Danny Glover, Mel Gibson. And again, I like Danny Glover as an actor. I think the brother is a brilliant actor. Don't get me wrong. However, watching Lethal Weapon is hard to not see this character played out the way he was. And he's one that had an odd, and this is one of the things I noticed with some of these kinds of characters. They have an odd way of being overly supportive of white or female characters that doesn't really have any basis in the story. They're just supportive. They meet, shake hands, introduce themselves, and the next thing they're damn near ready to kill themselves or sacrifice themselves for this character for the rest of the series or the film. And there's no real reason why. It's one of the things that I've seen, for the longest, but it definitely highlights the differences between the value of certain characters' lives. So let me see. Hold on here. Where'd my mouse go? There we go. All right. So we got Midtown in the Wind. Hello?
Yeah, it's just me,
Okay.
As you know, I grew up in the '90s, and I've seen Lethal Weapon, most of the Lethal Weapon series.
Okay.
Now, I look past. I did miss that, growing up. I missed the whole over catering.
Oh, you talking about Lethal Weapon particularly, or are you talking about
in movies in general?
Okay.
And now that I look back at it, if they would have toned the catering down, I would be able to link it back. I would be able to link it back to my experiences growing up.
Okay.
Now, my experiences growing up, I mean, believe it or not, I am Black.
Okay.
Believe it or not. And my experiences growing up, as you know, I speak proper English. I don't speak Ebonics or the neighborhood language. For me, that right there put me at a darned if I do, darned if I don't. If I do speak Ebonics, I get in trouble at home. If I don't speak Ebonics, I get in trouble in the streets. So I had to pick my battles.
Okay. Well, let me do this
now,
because I do want to continue, and I just wanted y'all to offer a brief statement. Summarize, if you will, in the next 10 seconds, what your major point is in terms of where your thought is on this subject.
My point is like if they wouldn't have had it over catering, that I would be able to relate to the character, because I fought every day. I had bad experiences in my youth.
Okay.
With other Black people.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you contributing on the thought, man. Thank you.
It's no problem.
All right.
See you.
So, look, code switching is a thing. It is what it is. It's one of the ways that people have to navigate. It is what it is. But, one thing I will say that MGTOW brought up that struck me is when he said, I didn't really catch that. And this is important, because a lot of the things that we talk about, appreciate the support, James, as well as Black Titan, appreciate that support. A lot of things we talk about, Lady Miss Thing, I didn't see Tenet yet. I don't know how I missed it, but I forgot to watch it, so I will check that out. But a lot of the things that tend to happen, we grew up watching, we consumed it, and that's a very different thing from critically analyzing it. Not all of us do that. Not all of us critically analyze what we do. And even those of us that do, you don't catch everything. You know what I mean? You'll see something that you haven't watched in 20 years. And I'm big for that, because my in my home growing up, we were latchkey kids, which is a term that's been lost. But, in the 80s, we were kids who, my mother didn't come home from work till 7, 8 o'clock. So, we went to school, we came home, we cooked our own dinner some of the time, we played outside, we did homework, we watched a lot of TV. And we absorbed a lot of ideas without critically or being able to critically analyze what we were absorbing. You know what I mean? So in that respect, you can take in a lot of these ideas without even, let me see. We got one more. Prince Yesher. Hello?
Hey, good afternoon. Good evening, Doc.
You got to turn your background down.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Is that better, sir?
A little bit. Malika, appreciate the support. So what's your thought on this, Prince? What's going on?
Well, first of all, I look at who, first of all, owns all those studios, who owns all of these music industries, and they're all Jewish, totally honest with it. And they don't want to promote a positive image of Black men. So we're always the step and fetch it. We're always super helpful to them. We're always in the servitude position of any white man or white woman. And so that is the I have of it. And it's what's ingrained in our mind. Because like you're saying, television, I was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s as well. Television and music has grafted and cultivated my mindset. The way I wear clothes, the way I say hello to people, like I speak proper English as well, which English is a bastard language. You say, hey, I like your jeans, but I don't know if I'm talking about your skin color or the pair of clothes you're wearing. So yes, we were taught to speak a bastard language very well in our own family. Would fun of us for it. Yes, that did happen, but we're continuous even in that topic about how you speak, how you dress, how supportive you are to white men and women with the things that they do, and especially women as well. And it's just all to defeat the genetically superior gene that Dr. Mendel stated that black men are the greatest entity on earth. And if black men ever learned that thing, they would lose control, and they would issue with all of the lies that they portray through the music. I gotta kill another black, or let's put every song with the N-word in it, and not act as if the N-word does not relate to black.
Print. You cutting in and out, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Check that.
But no, I appreciate that, because we're gonna keep moving. But I appreciate your contribution to it. So thanks a lot, brother.
You've arrived.
Uh-oh. All right. So that's one of the examples there. All right. So let's continue from here. Let's see. What do we got? Point number 3, right? Aren't at particularly two named black male characters in the film who aren't at odds because of their hyper dedication to white or female characters' values, are able to demonstrate will, intellect, and choice as self-defined characters with their own purpose. Now, this is one of the things we saw in the recent MCU series, right? Where when we're looking at this issue between Captain America and Iron Man, well, one of the things we see is both of their sidekicks, right? War Machine and Falcon, arguing at one point on behalf of their white benefactors, and then getting into a confrontation. Now, it was a confrontation, obviously, that had more than just the two of them, but the opposing nature. Barry, appreciate that support. Thank you. The intensity of the argument between the two. Of course, it results in War Machine or James Rhodes ending up paraplegic. He loses the use of his legs after this particular battle. And I'm going to bring them up again a little bit later because I'm not limiting the discussion to just what we saw in Captain America Civil War. But it's just this moment where, if you've grown up reading comic books like I have, and you watched for decades these black men only really being able to play these side characters for most of the characters. There are some independent characters we've seen, but for the most part, many of these characters came out of a legacy of serving as white characters' sidekicks, right? Even their masculinity in many ways was measured by the characters that they represented for. And they were, it was a mixture of being like guard dogs and lesser beings and at the same time, right? And even their narratives were all a reflection of the white characters that preceded them. So we've seen this across the board in so many different characters, from the Superman legacy, the Green Lantern legacy, Iron Man, Captain America, and many, many more. I'm just skimming the surface. Y'all go check Artisan MC's channel on Sundays, most particularly when he does his show. He deals with the geek material way more in depth and on a consistent basis than I do. But at the end of the day, this is one of the things we see. So when we're watching a film or a movie, are we watching, black male characters who are operating on behalf of white or female values? And in other words, in particular characters' values at that, right? Are they operating as self-defined characters with their own sense of purpose? Now, there's nothing wrong if their sense of purpose coincides with another character's, but it's a whole different thing to have them wholly representing white characters or female characters simply because, right? This is one of the things that I kind of want to, make sure we just put on the table, right? For consideration. Are these self-defined black men, or are they operating on others' value systems, and they have no sense of self-agency whatsoever? Let me see here. And growing up in the 80s, and I was born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, you saw these kind of things a lot. But let's see. Let's go on. So the next one, and I'll see. Let me see. I'll put the link again. There we go. All right. Let's get that in there. And then I'll put the link out again. I'm going to pop in. So we got point number 4, right? At least 2 black male named characters who can acknowledge each other peaceably, but are also able to be presented as human beings with backstories that inform their behavior and portray emotion beyond anger, including vulnerability, right? So I told you I was going to bring these 2 back up again because I thought what they did was kind of redemptive for their characters in the recent Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. I don't find it accidental that this has a black director, but Stylist, what's up, man? In this particular scene, you have them actually having a conversation after Sam gives up the Captain America shield, right? Now, I did a video on this where I talked about black imposter syndrome and what I thought was going on with Sam. We've yet to hear his thoughts on this and why he would give up the shield. But this is something that I think that is going to come out soon because there's only 3 episodes left in the series. There's only 6. They've done 3 so far. But in this particular moment, you got a chance to see these 2 characters out of costume, not using talking points and rhetoric that came directly from their white benefactors, and just conversating with one another. Now, mind you, if you're not familiar, Anthony Mackie on the right plays Sam, who's the Falcon. And on the left, you have Don Cheadle, who plays James Rhodes or the War Machine. And the last time they met that we know of in Captain American Civil War, you actually had Don Cheadle's character James injured to the point where he could not use his legs. And it was mainly because in a particular confrontation with Sam was able to dodge a blow or a bolt that was coming from Vision, and it ended up damaging Rhodes. So he could have very well blamed Sam. There could have been all kinds of hostility, but to have the scene where they're casually walking and discussing with no venom, no anger at one another, just dialoguing as 2 black men was interesting. Let me go ahead and bring up my boy Malika to the screen. What's up, man?
Peace, brother. Peace. Peace to
your
family.
You as well. Give me your thoughts on some of this, man. What do you think?
I love the point which you're talking about, number 4.
Okay.
I'm tired of seeing black men being represented, but black men that don't really have any personality.
Mm-hmm.
You're just there because of black. Now I'm a geek just like you. But if we go to one of our favorite superhero characters in the movie, Blade, he had no personality.
Mm.
I loved him. He was great, but he had no personality. He was very one-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
But thankful that we're seeing Anthony Mackie and Don Shields' characters in that specific moment that they're talking.
Right.
And they're showing that these men have personalities. These men are 3-dimensional. Yeah. They're not just following Cap. They're not just following Tony.
Exactly.
They're not just being quote unquote sidekicks. But I hate when you see characters in one instance, they have a strong sense of masculinity. Sam Jackson's character as Nick Fury. But then when you see him in Captain Marvel, he's trailing behind Captain Marvel and he's this kind of coonish, a little bit buffoonish. And I couldn't watch the rest of the movie after that because I said, you show him one way, but you have to emasculate him in another way.
Okay.
And that gets me. Or the black guy, he's there like Eddie Murphy did this in his early career as being the flippant, funny, cocky black guy. And I'm not knocking him, but that's what he did for a betterment of his career. Or you're the overly masculine black guy who's not too smart. Mr. T made his career off of this. Or if you're the smart black guy, you're effeminate, or you're the weak, nerdy, or blurred guy.
And let's keep in mind what you're really referring to too are very old stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about Mr. T, a lot of his characters in the 80s, he played
buck.
kind of, he was a buck. Absolutely. Yeah. Big, strong, not that bright, kind of character. Absolutely. So a lot of these come from older stereotypes. And one of the things we notice is even when we try to challenge and redefine stereotypes, we can end up reinvoking other aspects of it.
Yeah.
When you talk about Eddie Murphy, one of the things that Eddie did well in the 80s for his characters is they were confident.
Yes.
That was something you didn't always get to see with black men. They were capable characters, like Axel Foley, capable characters, confident characters, but could also be buffoonish. You know what I mean? So in one vein, you're challenging a stereotype, but you can reinvoke another if you haven't had an opportunity to study how these stereotypes came about, what they are, how they're framed. If you don't really study that, you kind of end up doing that, because stereotypes are like a vocabulary. Mm-hmm. And in the West, it's a vocabulary in media that we've all learned and we don't really think about. In many ways, we just accept it. And there is a vocabulary for every group. The West is so racialized. There really is no group that isn't stereotyped in one way, shape, or form. I don't care if you're Native American, Latino, if you're Irish, if you're British, if you're Jamaican, if you're Russian. There are stereotypical narratives that go with each group. But when you talk about black men in particular in the West, the stereotyping goes back to a legacy of stereotypes developed after slavery that had a very political purpose. Mm-hmm. Of really trying to devalue the public's sense of, faith in what black folk could be, especially post-slavery, right? Because the South's biggest fear was that we were going to take over, with the power of the vote. So these stereotypes had a very particular purpose, and we still see them in our media, but we don't always know what they mean. But I wanted to give you a last opportunity to kind of, give us your closing thoughts on this.
I'm tired of seeing this new stereotype, the self-righteous Negro.
Okay.
You see it in the Tyler Perry movies. We saw it with Cliff Huxtable. Mm-hmm. He can't be wrong. Or if he's redeemed, if he was in prison, he's the church going dude, or he's the deacon or everything, and nothing goes wrong. You got to be chaste, you got to be this, and I just got tired of that shit. I'm like, and I said, there's a new thing out, the self-righteous Negro, and Tyler Perry's made $1 billion off of that. Bill Cosby made millions off of that with Cliff Huxtable. And after Bill Cosby did this, you started seeing this a lot come about. And now it becomes this new stereotype out there that we have, the self-righteous male and definitely the self-righteous female Negro.
Okay.
We see that. You see that Issa Rae did that. You see that a lot with a lot of black females. She's single mom, she's holding down a career, she's trying to do anything and everything. Okay. You see that in Girlfriends, like it's the self-righteous woman that she can do at before the age of 30. She's done anything and everything. She's owned her own business, she owns her own home, but she can't seem to get a man. She can't seem to keep a man.
I see what you're saying.
But it's always the man's fault. But she has her brood of girlfriends that always can come together and say, girl, it's okay. You just haven't had a man yet, or there's not a man there that can meet you, until she meets the mystery man, who's the self-righteous Negro that matches her.
Well, and is also willing to serve her across the board. But appreciate you dropping in on this, man. Thank you.
Peace. Thank you very much, bro. All
right, well, okay. So we were at number 4, and we talked about, that they have their own context, and now I want to reemphasize this portrayal of emotion, right? When it comes to black men, because we're often presented in very particular ways, we're either, buffoonish, cowardly, or hyper masculine, right? And in that, the range of emotions becomes a factor, right? We're often not able to be vulnerable in a manner that doesn't have to be emasculating, but at the same time, can we be capable of portraying something beyond anger, right? So anger is one of the emotions that's acceptable based on how we kind of envision what manhood is, what masculinity is, but we don't often explore some of the other emotions or the characters are not allowed to in many ways. So even again, going back to this particular scene in the series, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it wasn't, depression. It wasn't fear. It wasn't self-pity. It was just, these two brothers talking about the weight of their decisions and what they're doing and how that impacts this world that they're living in post Thanos. So if you're not watched the series, of course, I don't think you get what that means, but it's important. But just being able to see Black men engage on screen in ways that go beyond the limited scope of what we're allowed to present. Okay. I see a lot going on in the comments. I'm not able to keep up with all of it, but remember, you can pop up in here and comment on some of these directly. Right. So the next one up, number 5, Black men who aren't solely driven by sex, especially to the point of rape or sexual violence. They aren't abusers or rapists. Right. This is a series. This is something that that Black men have been linked to, again, most especially by the time you get to the mid 20th century, you start to see a lot more of this where Black men are hypersexual and they're considered sexually dangerous. This becomes a trope that really rationalizes a lot of the false accusations against Black men, even during slavery through the mid 20th century, about accusations of rape, many of which were not able to even be investigated in a court of law, because many of these brothers died via lynching at merely the accusation. So, of course, by the time you get to a Me Too, Black men have a very different experience with the notion of #believe her or believe all women. We have a different experience with that. That said, appreciate the support, AB Media. Good to see you in here. That said, this whole conversation about Black men being able to be represented and not be driven solely by sex is important. Now, the scene you can see in here is from the first movie, Blade. Right. And there was a character. I don't believe I ever saw a name. I'm not even sure what the name of the actor is. I couldn't find it. So if any of you guys can find it, please let me know. But those of you who are fans of the film, remember there was a scene where Blade walks in to get his serum, and there is a brother in a store that gives it to him. They dap each other up, give each other a hug. As you can see, none of it was emasculating. None of it was overly feminine. And, the characters themselves, neither one was presented in some kind of way that was sexually driven. They weren't abusers. They weren't rapists. Although I did have a colleague of mine once tell me that there was a rape narrative at the end of the film when Blade was drinking the blood of the woman whose character escapes me at the moment. She gave him some of her blood, and that there was this kind of subtle rape narrative that went along with it, which pissed me off for at least 2 weeks after that conversation. Nevertheless, again, this narrative is always going along with Black men, and it needs to be challenged. Now, I'll bring my boy Ian up in here. I need you to be concise, good brother. Tell me your thoughts real quick on either one of these bullet points. What do you think?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you bring up Blade, part 3 in Blade was basically to emasculate him completely, because they made all the characters, almost as powerful or sometimes even more powerful than Blade in a lot of cases. I guess that was their way of trying to end the series for whatever social political reason. But it was clear to see that they were doing away with him in that movie. But to go on to see what the effects of those I can give from a personal standpoint. When I was in the 4th or 5th grade, I had G.I. Joes, and I had the one black one with the bald head. You know what I'm saying? Roadblock. But what I would do when I played, I would always set him aside and make the white G.I. Joe do all the heroic things.
Okay.
But the saving grace though was the fact that I woke up. I had this kind of self-awareness or self-analysis that happened when I was young, and I said to myself, I looked at myself when I put it. There was a particular day, I can remember the day I put it. I did that, and I looked at myself. I said, why would I do that? And I said, it must be the television. And I'm in the 4th or 5th grade, and I realized that the television was actually programming me not to see myself and my image as a heroic figure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. And so when you factor in how quickly you can take something like heroism and disassociate it, not only from Black men, but even from yourself as a child watching these images, you can see how being a sexual threat or, you know, being unintelligent, but being a big buck, you can see how those ideas begin to shape how we even define our own sense of masculinity.
Yes.
Right, because these are ideas that we see reinforced hundreds of times in media, and there's really not a lot of dialogue about. So you just take it in, and as a child, you just think, well, this must be what I'm supposed to be in some way, shape, or form. You know, and so in that you start to see, you know, life imitate art, as they say.
Yes.
And there's no critical dialogue. Any closing thoughts you want to give before you roll?
Well, so with all that being said, I think that pushed me to some degree, you know, because I hadn't fully, digested the whole brainwashing that I got. But I think to some degree it caused me to be almost like a concussor, because throughout my younger life, I thought that in real life, if I got shot by a gun, that maybe some black female would see me as a hero if I had gotten fatally wounded of some sort. So it pushed me to have this extreme sense of idea of a hero, you know, that would put myself in danger.
Yes, excellent point, brother. Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
All right. Peace.
Now, Ian brings up a powerful point about sacrifice and heroism, and that's one of the things that we see men across race are being lured with from childhood on, right? The idea that if you sacrifice enough, that if you're heroic enough, that you'll be rewarded with respect, right? Because respect is the currency of men. It is the language of men. It is the lifeblood of how men interact. We live and die by respect. And when we contemplate relationships, right, much of what we even want from women in terms of how they express love is respect, right? So the idea of heroism that we get as a child even, and heroism doesn't have to be, you know, just a superhero. I mean, it could literally be the people we see in the news, the people I talked about earlier in the show, or it can be football players, basketball players, those who make the play at the last minute, those we look up to, all of these different forms. They can be firefighters, soldiers, all these different, and I'm sorry, in some situations, even if you grow up in your neighborhood, it could be the local gangsters. The point I'm getting at is however you define heroism, one of the things we're taught is that if you properly play out that role as a child, this is when we learn it from comic books, from television shows, from, you know, characters we play with, you know, little action figures, all of that. What you learn is if you are able to embody this hero well enough, you'll be respected. You'll be respected by your boys. You'll be respected by strangers. You'll be respected in particular by women. And when you become an adult and you try to live these things out, you find that it doesn't quite work that way. You know, it just doesn't. So you can sacrifice your life and do all of that, and the rewards never quite work the way you think they will. And it begins to erode some men's confidence when we find it doesn't work quite that way. All right, so let me see here. Let's get to the next one. Number 6, Black men who aren't beat up by whites or women, or rather aren't used as a foil merely to highlight white or female physical, moral, or intellectual superiority. Now, years ago when, Boomerang came out, Eddie Murphy, one of his famous skits in the film was, you know, talking about Star Trek. And one of the things he talked about is, you know, Yeoman Johnson. If Yeoman Johnson was in a scene, you knew he was going to get killed. And to a Trekkie, it was hilarious to hear. But one of the things I noticed that I really didn't hear a lot of people talk about is, you know, growing up in the 80s, watching Star Trek Next Generation, you had here Michael Dorn, who played Worf. And Worf was supposed to be, you know, Klingon, which meant that Klingons had hyper strength. They were supposed to be stronger than the average human being. And he was the only Klingon in Starfleet, right? So anytime there was a scene where there was a new alien of some sort that was a threatening figure, a menace, one of the things you often saw them do was pit them against Worf. And 9 times out of 10, Worf got his ass whooped. Worf was used as the foil to highlight how powerful alien characters were. And he himself would almost always be beaten and humiliated on a regular basis. It got to the point where I didn't find, if there was a new scene and Worf was supposed to fight him, I didn't have a whole lot of faith in Worf. And again, I'm functioning as, in middle school. So there was a transition from elementary to middle school to high school during the 80s for me. And during that time period, watching these shows, I like Michael Dorn as an actor, don't get me wrong, and much respect to the legacy of Black actors, many of whom had to play these roles just to get feet in the door. Independent films we made were often unseen. So I don't mean to disparage Black actors. That's not what I'm trying to do. I understand many of them did what they had to do, but one of the things I'm just noticing is the impact the way those characters were written and portrayed had. And when it came to Worf, he played a buck, essentially a big, strong buck who wasn't supposed to be very bright. And he was often getting beat up to highlight other people's strength. Or with the women on the show, who were invariably white. I mean, they only had, women of color playing minor roles. They'd come in here and there and operate a machine and leave. But, the women on the show were always kind of demonstrated as being far smarter, right? Whether it was the Counselor Troy, whether it was, Dr. Beverly, I forget her last name. But I mean, the point was Worf was represented as a buck, And so he was just a brief example of a Black male character who was used to highlight others' physical, moral, or intellectual superiority, right? And this is something we saw on a regular basis. And for many of us, we took it as a regular thing, especially if you were a child, you may have even processed this as normal, right? As right, because it was something we saw so often. So that being said, something to think about here, right? Do you see Black male characters who are continually used as a foil? Now, there's some of this that goes, to men across the board. But here's the thing. I'm not talking about men across the board because Black men have a unique history, and that history needs to be explored on its own merit. So, I'm not at all arguing that none of the things I said apply to men in general. Not my argument. It may or it may not. I'm merely talking about Black men. Because that's my target group. That's what I'm concerned about. So you constantly would see that. Now, Worf is just one example. Feel free to share in the comments or come up on the screen and share, others that you think may play into this dynamic. But at the end of the day, Black men being used as a foil for others to demonstrate their superiority is a regular occurrence. Let me see here. Okay, so moving along, we come to our last one, number 7, right? Black males who aren't stupid, buffoonish, dishonest, criminalistic, or overly fearful for reasons that have nothing to do with the story. Nothing to do with the story. Now here, going, clockwise, I have Mel Johnson, who played Willie in the film Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. We have John Boyega, who played in the last Star Wars trilogy, right? And then as Finn. And then at the bottom, we have Ahmed Best, who plays Jar Jar Binks in the prequel trilogy, right? Now, here again, I highlight, I'm not attacking Black actors. Appreciate that. Welcome to the Brotherhood, Christopher. I'm not attacking Black actors because you've got to know how dangerous some of this is. If you look at the brother at the bottom, Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar, at one point he contemplated taking his own life, because of the criticism of his performance, of the character, so on and so forth. I don't want to contribute to that. I'm not looking for brothers to take their own life behind none of this. I'm not looking for them to be depressed. I'm not looking, but what I am saying is there is a legacy that I think needs to be put into context in terms of how Black men are represented. And much of the time you see these characters who are presented in a particular way that isn't even relevant to the story. Like the first trailer I saw for the last Star Wars trilogy, where you got to see John Boyega's Finn for the first time. You see, this is the image I saw in the commercial. He takes his Star Trooper, oh man, I'm blanking on everything today. But he takes his helmet off and he looks like a runaway slave. This was two seconds into the trailer. We hadn't seen anything yet about what this upcoming trilogy was going to look like. And this was the very first trailer. And I was just like, damn, looking terrified. And when I saw the movie, it was like, there really wasn't a whole lot of reason for all of that. There really wasn't. Right. But it's I find it interesting that it goes back to a very old trope about black men. And this is something you also saw with Asian men in the depiction of what Dr. Tommy Curry would call racialized manhood. Right. The idea that, these men were fearful. They were less than masculine. They were inherently cowardice. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things you saw with Boyega's Finn, at least, in terms of the trailer and aspects of the character. We can also talk about their asexualization, right? Because so black men can either be hypersexual or asexual, right? They almost have no sexuality at all, right? So normally in a film, his character and the female lead in the Star Wars series, whose name I will not mention, either the character or the actress, because I hated that series, but normally those two characters would have had some type of romantic interest. This was like watching two 8-year-olds. It was childish. It was ridiculous. They literally kind of appreciate that, officer. They literally neutered his character in a way, right? But again, overly fearful in a manner that doesn't have anything to do with the story, right? Nothing to do with the story. Now, when you watch Total Recall, and I know this is, for some of you, it's an oldie, Arnold Schwarzenegger film, on Mars. Willie plays what starts out to be a cab driver, double agent, thief kind of character, liar. He's constantly lying about how many kids he has to beg people for money, that kind of thing. And a lot of his portrayal just wasn't even necessary in terms of that. And I'm not talking about the way the actor portrayed him. I'm talking about the way the character was written. Full circle. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Dr. Hasan. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Great. I want to address something you mentioned. I'm kind of backtracking, but I'm going to jump into two movies. Shows or movies. Star Trek with, is it Lieutenant Worf? Was it Lieutenant Worf?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That matter. Worf. I'm going into the Star Trek part that you mentioned. Okay. So as a child, I'm just going to give my example. As a child, I didn't know what was behind the aesthetics or the costume, referring to a black man. As a child, I just thought that an alien was an alien. I didn't see the color behind it. So it's kind of hard to look at that. And now as adults, we know, like someone mentioned in the comments, that they went to Comic-Con or they met the character that played Lieutenant Worf. Okay. So as a child, it's different. Dr. Hasan, you don't really see that. You don't really know. So I get that what the studios is doing. In fact, I come from Paramount, so I get all of that. But as a child, you don't know anything like that. As adults, you catch it. By that time, it's too late. As a child, you don't see it, Dr. Hasan. That's one thing. So we don't get it. Now, when you go into Total Recall, the character you should be speaking to, and that's a great movie to bring up, is the coward at the end. Remember the one that jumped in, was acting like he was trying to save Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he set him up? Now, that was a heck of a character to play.
You talking about
and why do we have
the black character?
Remember the skinny dude, the black character, the skinny dude? Yeah, totally out of line, totally out of pocket. The one that was on the right. Yeah, right. The one that led him. Yeah, exactly. Now that's the one, but at the same time, I get it. We're going back to Lieutenant Worf. He did the best he could. He tried to, but as a child, you don't know until you look up, and then you start to get older. You start to see the show more. You be like, is that a black guy or a white guy? Then you start going deep into the character. But as a child, Dr. Hasan, honestly, you truly don't know. And that's what's messed up about it. And I brought this up just real quick. I brought this up on Dennis Sperling. regardless of what's going on, I won't push that to the side. We need to start making our own. Image is everything. We have to start developing our own characters in a positive light for the children. And that's where we're falling behind, because because we don't have the budget or the money. We don't have, like, we got our own studios like Tyler Perry to produce these movies for children and bring them in a positive light until it's too late, Dr. Hasan. And then we get older and figure out, like, that was the message. Oh, now I get it. By that time, Dr. Hasan, it's too late. Just
Man,
saying.
Appreciate that full circle. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
I see that's important, but I want to shout out, we got brothers in the space that are producing work. Let's see. I don't want to mispronounce his name. Y'all help me out in the comment section. Brother Sean, who has his own channel here on YouTube, who writes his own comics. His last name escapes me in the moment. I'm having one of those weeks where I'm not remembering people's names particularly well. So somebody help me out. But we do have brothers that are producing their own comics, producing their own independent works. One of the hard parts about it, though, is, getting some distribution, getting the proper amount of advertising, to let people know your work is out there. And, I have an Institute for Black Male Studies. I'm promoting classes and lectures and interviews. The hardest part about it is getting people to even know it exists, let alone getting them to support it. So yeah, Sean James, thank you, Gemini. Thank you, DJ B-Side. Appreciate that. What the had a soul? I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, Sean James. Y'all check out Sean's channel. He does his own independent work, artwork, and he's always talking about comics. We have it there. We're just not always in a position now. So this is was this G Money?
You got it, Dr. Hasan Johnson. How are you doing this evening? How's
doing
everything?
well. How about yourself, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Yeah.
Any thoughts about any one of the bullet points from tonight? What do you think?
I was on my way home. I was driving home, and I caught your show. And the first thing that came to my mind was John Boyega's character in Star Wars.
Yeah,
I was like, I hope he talks about it. And then you show it, right? It just didn't make any sense how much of a coward he was. And when you saw the trailer, when they were promoting the movie initially, I'm thinking he's going to be a Jedi. You're a Star Wars fan, right?
Yeah, man.
I'm thinking he's going to be a Jedi, and he just turns out to be this coward, and it just didn't make any sense. Then when the trilogy progressed, it's like his character just became irrelevant.
Absolutely.
But I was like, okay, I'm just tired of seeing this guy. What's he even doing here?
Well, and remember in the first film, when he picks up a lightsaber, because that's what had us all thinking he might be a Jedi at some point. He picks up a lightsaber. He knows about as much about the Force as the lead character, which is nothing. And he promptly gets beat. He promptly gets whooped.
Exactly.
And it's embarrassing. It's sad. And
it's embarrassing. I want to call it racist. It's racist. It's straight up racism. The way they portrayed this guy. He's a coward, and he's getting his ass beat, and it's just insane.
Absolutely.
It's almost like he's a court jester at some point.
And then
you talk about asexuality as well.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, he fits all those tropes.
Absolutely.
It just didn't make any sense. I was so pissed off when I saw the trilogy, and it just got worse and worse as the series went on.
Yeah,
I was like, wow.
And him losing at the end of that first film, what was it for? It highlighted how dangerous a threat Kylo was, and it highlighted how skillful the lead character was. Right, his beating, as it were, was used as a prop for other people's superiority, right? And so that was one of the things I was talking about earlier. But any closing thoughts that you had about this?
Yeah, I just want to say great show. And you just took the thoughts right out of my head when you started. I was like, I hope he talks about John Boyega's character in Star Wars, because it was just a travesty. Travesty. Now, I was expecting to see a Jedi, somebody that was nice with the Force, nice with the lightsaber. And it just turns out to be a court jester, and it just got worse and worse after every movie. It just got worse and worse.
Oh man!
It makes you think, because I think I read a forum, and they were saying that there were a lot of people upset with John Boyega's character. They didn't want him getting with Rey, or there was, and they didn't want him to be a Jedi. And I'm thinking that the writers may have changed the story around just to suit the fans, the racist fans.
Right, like it was, it was going there, and then they changed their mind or something.
Yeah. I think that he was meant to be a Jedi, but you know, there was a lot of pushback from what I understand.
Okay, yeah.
So,
well, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate you coming in on this.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Let me see. See, one of the things that made John Boyega's performance that much harder to take in was I had just watched him prior to Star Wars show up in Attack the Block. And the character he played in Attack the Block was strong, you know, he was a kid. He was like 14, 15 years old, but he was strong. He was intelligent. He outsmarted the aliens. He saved the entire neighborhood. This was, you know, presented as a story in the hood, I believe in Britain, you know what I mean? And he plays just a regular kid who gets into trouble here and there. He's stealing wallets, doing little things, and he ends up saving the whole neighborhood. When I saw that film, by the time I saw him in the first trailer, about to be in this new Star Wars trilogy, that's what made this particular clip, the image you see on the screen, that's what made it that much more disappointing, but I still had hope until I watched it and I saw the way they portrayed him. But if you saw Attack the Block, it was hard to have nothing but respect for Boyega based on what, you know, we knew he'd bring to the table. Officer.
How you doing, good doctor?
What's good, man? What's your thoughts on some of this?
I'm gonna keep it PG.
Okay.
One, I'm gonna talk about two major points you made. The first one is about Falcon.
Okay.
Number one, it shows the historical defeat and where black men have a fear of success.
Okay.
Anytime Captain America said, "It looks good on you," and acknowledges you as the new Cap, and it's like getting $1 million, just saying, "You know what? I'm gonna give it back to the lottery. I don't deserve it."
Okay.
We have this fear of success, like we don't want to have all this power and responsibility on our shoulders.
Okay.
And I looked at it through both my fan as a comic book genres and as a military person. And I guess you could say paramilitary now. You see this a lot where when I try to go for different units or different things, black officers or soldiers were told, well, you know, you should stay where you are. It's cool. You don't have to worry about that much. But they'll pump up the white boys for the black women. Even when I was asking the first time I took the sergeant's test, the females were brought off the street 2 hours early for the black male sergeants to groom them.
Okay.
And when I asked, they barely act like they had time to answer my questions. And it was crazy because I'm like, wait a minute. You're either doing this because it's a sexual favor or because you think they can't handle it on their own. And the other part is the John Boyega character and all those, you know, Stephen Fetchard's cowardly, oh, no, boss, I don't know if we can go into there. You know that Scooby-Doo character.
Scooby-Doo.
That's what basically it was. They just turned him from a black man to a brown dog. That's all.
Okay.
And you see it in the military where all these white boys are working out, taking steroids, doing martial arts, carrying about 15 different knives. But as soon as we got to Iraq, I volunteered for one of the most dangerous jobs there, being part of the QRF, and had to see the lives of some of the people who try to look down upon me.
Okay.
And it's a reason why I always quote this one Bible scripture to people, Psalms 110, verse 1. And the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstools. Because with enough training and enough guile and a chance, you'll outshine anybody. And I think it's very important that we actually call this bullshit out. Excuse my language. Because it's very detrimental to a black boy's psyche.
Okay.
Especially when he's growing and he's got to go into that world where what happens if you go into the realms like yourself, what you said on the video earlier, the higher you win in education, the less you've seen of people who look like you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing when you look at law enforcement or military.
Okay. Okay.
Especially when you go to tactical, you don't see a lot of us.
Okay. Right.
We're not allowed to be the hero. We're the worker bee.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put a sequence number and a name tag on them, and we got numbers.
Right.
You're not supposed to be thought of as intelligent. I had a sergeant who said, "Wow, I didn't know you were this intelligent."
Wow.
Like, where did you go to school? I didn't finish college. Oh, you speak so well. This is a black sergeant who said it. I said, my reaction to him was, well, all of us don't speak Obonics, master, But it's so ingrained in our culture. It's so ingrained in our culture.
Oh, your sound cut out.
Hello?
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's so ingrained in our culture that we look down upon ourselves with pity and shame.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even acknowledge our smartest, our most intelligent, our most capable. You can't be the amalgamation of all this. That's why, I have a soft spot for the character Panthro from the Thundercats. He was think about it. He was not only the biggest and the strongest, and he was a master of every fighting art, but he's also the smartest.
Right. Right.
He was also the smartest. He literally took wreckage from a spaceship and made the Thunder Tank.
Yep.
And various other vehicles. Like he literally was the key to their survival.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the amalgamation. I mean, look at the Bionic 6 IQ. He was a big, strong guy, but he was the smartest out of everybody.
Now, I'm gonna have to get some other people up in here, but I definitely want to shout out what you're talking about, because especially with Panthro, he was played by Earl Hyman, who was the grandfather from the Cosby Show.
Oh yeah.
So it was definitely positive influence all around. But give us your closing thought.
Well, my closing thought is that one, hashtag I want to play the younger Isaiah Bradley, and also that never forget that we are all the heroes of our own narrative.
Right.
Thank you, good doc.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man.
All right.
Peace. All right, y'all. And we will be having office hours tonight. So those of you who are members, you can definitely pop in. We're going to continue the discussion. Renzo and then Devin, you're up next. So Renzo, about this.
Dr. Johnson, thank you for having me, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh man. I'll try to be as fast as I possibly can, sir. Okay. So while we're, while staying on the subject. So I'm probably in the minority here, but I just recently, a couple of years ago, finally went through the series Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
And Angel. So you probably might know where I'm going with this.
Well, I didn't watch either one, so I know of them.
That's perfect. You know what? That's cool. That's cool. So long story short, so the two few black dudes they had on there, like that was little more than reoccurring characters. Like for instance, the first prominent black dude they had in the Buffy series, he actually came on Angel. Okay. I don't know if you remember that. That was like the spinoff to Buffy.
Okay.
So his name was Gunn. He came in, he was already a vampire slayer. Mm-hmm. He already, well, not a slayer, but he already killed vampires. He had a crew, before he met Angel. Him and Angel met up, and then they started forming a crew. But if you notice, like throughout the series, like it's even the first 1 or 2 to 3 seasons, he started getting away from his old gang in the old neighborhood. He started becoming more quote unquote civilized, hanging out with Angel and the kind of the Hollywood crew sort of. And long story short, the last season with him, so apparently it was his fault that one of the main girls of the crew, she died. She came back as this Lyria, as this eternal goddess, so to speak, but it was his fault that she died.
Okay.
It was he also like they also dated when she was still in human form, but of course the white dude got jealous. He got his throat slit. You know, they had to go make him a badass, and so that was the only way they could make him more badder than the black dude. And they even said it in the series, like, oh, she finally met somebody darker than you. You know, yeah. Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon is the creator of Buffy and Angel, and is Joss Whedon not one of the creators of the Marvel Universe or the films in the Marvel Universe?
Yeah, and then some hot water about his portrayal of Cyborg in the recent Justice League series. But
it gets better too from there. Also in Buffy, they had another black guy. He was in the last season. So the series mostly revolved or took place at a high school called Sunnyvale. So, you know, after like season 4 or 5, they kind of went to college and, you know, they kind of got away from high school. So the last season they went back to the high school and there was a black principal running the school because all the other principals had got eaten by the monsters or what have you. But the black principal, he was actually played by the brother from the Temptations movie who played Melvin.
Okay, I'm not familiar.
Dark skin, dark skin cat. Real cool dude. I forgot what else he was in, but yeah. So I know that like at first they was cool with him. Like I noticed Josh has this pattern. Like he'll bring a black dude on. He'll have him seeming legit at first, like you know, just like a real situation, you know. And I noticed though, like towards the end, they even had him as a potential love interest for Buffy. But after a while, he started pushing his white boys through. So of course, the principal, he tried to fight one of the villains, well, the former villains, because you know only white dudes could become villains and then become heroes and save the day. And also a former villain that Buffy fell in love with after a while. He killed the black principal's mother way back in the 70s. Okay. So the principal ended up putting 2 and 2 together. So he tried to kill the dude, but him not knowing how close Buffy and the dude was, you know. So when he tried to kill him and he didn't succeed, he also didn't succeed in it. So and he was in a room full of crosses, and the dude was a vampire. Okay. And he had him in a room full of, and he still couldn't kill him. So that's kind of showing how weak the black guy is there too. So he didn't kill him, and then guess who everybody's mad at him now? Like, oh, how dare you? You're not the mission, and the mission's more important. And if you get in my way, I'll kill you. And this, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Straight like that, and it's no coincidence that's a Joss Whedon original. Also, I'll say one more thing. Joss Whedon also had another series called what was that? Yeah, be brief. All right, I'm sorry. It was on the WB. It was it was about aliens coming to Earth. Long story short, in the pilot of the episode, one of the first few black people they show was a black woman, and for some reason they were doing some kind of shit. I don't know what they were doing, but they had a black chick get on there, and the first thing she said was, "I want to be Brad Pitt's love slave," verbatim. Okay. She said that like no other way around that, and it's just like, oh, another Joss Whedon original. Roswell, that's what it was called. It's called Roswell. It used to come on the WB, and that was all in the pilot. All right. Well, I appreciate that, man. Thanks for that. Oh no, I appreciate you, Dr. Johnson. I'm a big fan. Out of the manosphere, I don't know if you include yourself in that, but like you're the greatest. You and Kevin Samuels are the greatest in the manosphere. BGS is dope too. King Sigma, man, I love you guys, man. Well, I'm humbled by that, man. Thanks a lot, brother. You take it easy. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. There's really this one thing he said that I thought was interesting when he was bringing up, characters earlier on, and I wanted to just shout out one character who took advantage of his position. He came in in a white show, Spencer for Hire, and he played Hawk. He got his own spinoff, but he really rallied that and took it in another direction. So he made his character Hawk a 3-dimensional black male, whereas in the Spencer series, the way he was kind of written, it was supposed to be this kind of 1-dimensional. You didn't really know he was an anti-hero, supposed to be a little bit of a thug, but by the time he gets his own series, he really kind of 3-dimensionalizes the character and makes him human, right? And then by the time you see him again in Star Trek Deep Space Nine,
he rounds that out even further, making him a father. So I just wanted to shout out Avery Brooks. And I am suggesting like series like that, to me, meet the criteria I'm talking about, where Black men can be presented as human beings, right? So let me bring up Devin. What's up,
How you
Devin?
doing, brother?
Good. How you doing?
Very good. Doc, I'm a very big fan of yours. I actually live right down Foothill from the Claremont colleges. So every time I see your show, I'm reminded. I go right down to Claremont every day.
Oh, wow.
Right. I own a health center right here at Mountain and Foothill, right? In Upland.
Okay. All right.
I'm the brother that started the Black American Party. I sent you an email about the Black American Party. Brother, I'm ready. I am so ready for us to start exposing these people. I have a meme that I've circulated over the internet for years about what's his name? Seagram's gin. Brinkman Jr. or whatever. It'll come to me. The family that makes Seagrams, right?
Okay.
The father actually wrote a book about how much he hated the fact that his son married a Black woman. His son married the sister from Shaft, the sister that played the wife on Shaft. Dionne Warwick introduced them to each other.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll come to me. I'm not here to trash his name. I'm just saying, just to give you an example, I'm all about receipts and I'm all about calling these people out, man. Let me give you a little history. I got a gig as I'm a biomedical engineer and I'm also a SAG-AFTRA, right? Actor. But I got a gig working on The Deadliest Warrior, the TV show, right? Where they would match up a Yakuza versus Mafia or whatever in these imaginary things. It was Spike Television, right? Spike TV.
Okay.
Now, I got the gig as a biomedical engineer because they needed me to put the sensors on everything and to measure the speed of the bullets and the speed of punching and whatever, forces and stuff. So when I went for the interview, I happened to bring my resume as well as my headshots. So I got cast for the show as well. So that was interesting because they hired me for my biomedical engineering expertise. But after I explained to everybody what was going on, the director came up and said, okay, when we start rolling, the white boy is going to tell you what you told him. And you're going to sit there and act like you're learning from him.
Okay.
This is the kind of stuff that happens in Hollywood.
So you got to see it from the other side of the camera as an actor.
I had a fight with the director on the set.
Yeah.
I caused damage to my career right there on the set. Because yes, I got to see it. And I'm just going to tell you like it is. Okay. I don't care about labels. We're dealing with people who are very clever and very intelligent, by and large, highly intelligent. Ashkenazi Jews. That's right. I said it. They're very intelligent people, and they know exactly what they're doing with this imagery that they're creating. Okay. And let me tell you why I hate it. I've traveled to over 30 countries on business alone, and I know how people think when all they've been exposed to is the TV, from in the movies from the United States. And here I am, my company Biometrics is providing medical equipment maintenance in Beverly Hills, and I'm known as one of the probably the best company that provides this service. But I have foreign doctors that come into the United States opening up these clinics, and when I come to them with what is a damn good price for the highest quality service, I'm the only company that offers online reports with video. Okay, nobody gives you reports in any industry, online portals with video. Okay, but they still have a problem paying my price. And then I tell them, hey, shop around. Okay, I want to know if you can find somebody better at a better price. In fact, bring me a better price and I'll match it.
Okay, now I appreciate that, but
they can't.
Anything else on the subject though? Because we're about
no, it is. I'm just saying.
Okay.
The reason they think this way is because they watch television in their own country. They watch movies in their own country before they come here. This is why we have to start calling these people out who are producing these images, because it is not only damaging our children's minds, it's damaging us as Black men. When these people, right now they're saying hold the floodgates open and let everybody who wants to immigrate into the United States come into the United States. They're coming here with the images in their head given to them by Hollywood that the black man in particular, not just black people, the black male in particular is at the bottom of the totem pole and does not deserve respect. And that is what all of this is for. It's not only, you know, for recycling the social ills that plague the black community into the ears of our children, like they've been doing with gangster rap and gangster culture for generations, for decades. It's not just that. It's a big picture, right? Where they got all of white people thinking all of us are dumb, ignorant thugs, and they got half of us thinking that all the white people are rednecks and you know, ready to shoot us and whatever for no reason. And I believe all of that imagery is just a big game of divide and conquer.
Okay.
You see, it's a big game of divide and conquer. Now, white supremacy does exist. White oppression does exist. But the playing up of these stereotypes is very deliberate. And I'm ready to start calling the individuals out. I think we're at a time right now where we can define it as a hate crime to put these images in the media that are so destructive to the evolution of our people, right? The Jews have a group evolutionary strategy. We need to develop a group evolutionary strategy that says, hey, man, this is psychic pollution. For you to create these images is a hate crime. It's a hate crime toward Black Americans. And not only should you be liable civilly, we should actually start pursuing it as criminal, because we are all aware and intelligent and educated and savvy enough in technology to know the effects on the psyche and the subconscious and the sociological effects on society. And I'm tired of it, brother. And you're tired of it. And I got two sons. I'm raising black men. Okay. And I'm not gonna bring black men up in a world where these little subtle messages, oh, it's just entertaining, ha ha ha, the black guy's a buffoon. Oh, it's just entertaining. Right. A grown black man has a baseball cap on backwards and the fucking, excuse my language, brother, and a wife beater and his drawers showing. No, man.
Okay.
We're going to have to start finding the individuals who are putting the money behind greenlighting the decision to display these images because they are intelligent. When I go to Hollywood parties and I talk to the people, okay, that are making these decisions, they're not stupid. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. A lot of it's deliberate. But I appreciate you coming on, man. We got to close out. Thank you.
And you know, I look forward to working with you, hopefully, man, to help me put something together for the Black American Party, because I believe that we really need to readdress respect for the black man in order to bring back the patriarchy, in order to restore dignity to the black family.
Okay.
It's by the heteronormative family that's really going to save.
If and this goes to anybody, if you don't have a message you want to send me, go to my main website. It's just thasanjohnson.com, and you can email me straight from there. All right,
thasanjohnson.com. I will do this, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the time, man. Much love, much respect.
All right, peace. All right, y'all. We're gonna close out. I appreciate you guys coming through, discussing this with me tonight. Appreciate the participation, the donations, appreciate all of that. Like I said, there will be an office hours tonight. So for members on the YouTube channel, all you got to do is go to my main channel on YouTube, click on the community tab. In the next few minutes after we close off of here, I will post the link and you can come on in and engage me on the subject from the night. And I will talk to you guys there. So let's go ahead and move it a little forward. Y'all know what we do. Oh man, I'm having all kinds of technical little issues tonight. This is weird. All right. And we go in here. There we go. I think we're working. And y'all know how I like to close it out. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can just enlarge that. Man, children, sperm donors, child support wellsprings, success objects, walking phalluses, ATM machines, lottery tickets, brainless henchmen, valueless assassins, pro bono mercenaries, unpaid bodyguards, interchangeable stepfathers, child discipline proxies, unpaid repairmen, workhorses, emotional tampons, or any other socially accepted dehumanizing stereotype. We are thinkers, inventors, innovators, leaders, fathers, warriors, and men. Embrace your humanity, know your worth, and extend your time, attention, and resources only to those who genuinely respect you. And remember, your worth is not defined by meeting other people's narcissistic, selfish, and unrealistic needs. You define your own worth. All right? Peace.